Goblin launch detected.
This video is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. If you're looking for cards in the US, look no further, as you can use the promo code MTGMudsta to get you 5% off anything on the site. Or if you're in Canada like me, you can use the same promo code at Multizone to get 10% off your orders of singles. If cards aren't what you're looking for, Original Magic Art has playmats, tokens, and sweet art that you can use that same promo code to help you get 5% off your order there. If you're looking to bling out your cards, using Alter Sleeves is a great way to do so, and you can click the affiliate link in my About section to help out the channel as you make an order. And if you just want to help out the channel, you can always consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month and join the generic Goblin Gang. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today marks the first Saturday in December, which, if you're new to the channel, means you get 4 extra EDH gameplay videos, one on each Saturday of the month. We've got Max playing his Gavi deck, keeping Gift of Estates, Azorius Signet, Vizier of Tumbling Sands, Neutralize, Settle the Wreckage, Remote Isle, and a Mountain. Maximus has brought his Birgi deck, keeping 5 mountains, Desperate Ritual, and Zada. Miguel has made Svella Ice Shaper, keeping Arnie Brokenbow, Elvish Mystic, 2 mountains, 2 forests, and Thrashing Brontodon. Kevin has made Adeline Resplendent Cathar, keeping Collective Effort, Reconnaissance, Remorseful Cleric, Strixhaven Stadium, Hall of Heliod's Generosity, and 2 planes. Kevin wins the die roll and starts us off. Kevin plays a plains and pays 1 for a Soul Warden. Miguel plays a forest and casts Elvish Mystic, which as it comes in gains Kevin 1 from the Soul Warden. Max just plays a tapped Remote Isle. Maximus plays a mountain, passing. Kevin plays a plains and taps 2 for Remorseful Cleric. As it enters, it gains him 1 life, and he passes turn. Miguel drops a mountain, and is able to tap 3 for Svella Ice Shaper. With Miguel's commander coming in, Kevin gains 1 life. Max plays a mountain, and then casts an Azorius Signet, passing. Maximus plays a mountain, and taps 2 for Desperate Ritual, which makes him 3 red mana, which he uses for Birgi, who as she enters, gains Kevin 1 life. Kevin plays another plains, and then taps 3 for Adeline. He gains 1 from her entering, and swings the Warden at Max and the Cleric at Maximus. This triggers Adeline's on attack trigger, making him a token for each opponent, and has them coming in tapped and attacking, which also gains Kevin 3 life thanks to the Warden. Max takes the hit for 2, while Maximus blocks the token with Birgi and takes 2 from the Cleric, and Miguel blocks the token. With nothing else, Kevin passes. Miguel plays a forest and casts an Elvish Archdruid. This has Kevin gaining another life from the Warden trigger, and Miguel then passes. Max plays a Sea of Clouds and taps 4 for Afara. Maximus plays a mountain for turn and casts a Tuk Tuk Rebel Fort. He makes 1 red from casting a spell that Birgi sees, but doesn't use it, and Kevin gains 1 life from the wall coming in. Kevin plays out a Hall of Heliod's Generosity and taps 1 white for Reconnaissance. 3 mana is then paid for a Strixhaven Stadium, and he goes to combat. The Cleric goes at Miguel, the Token and Warden go at Max, and Adeline goes at Maximus. This triggers Kevin's commander, and he makes 3 more tapped and attacking tokens, 1 of which going to each opponent. Kevin also gains 3 life from them entering. We then move to blocks, with most of his opponents blocking the tokens, and Kevin untaps them by removing them from combat with Reconnaissance. The unblocked creatures then connect, and he gets to add 5 counters to the stadium. Before leaving combat though, Kevin then finishes in the cleanup step by using Reconnaissance to untap his creatures, and passes to Miguel. Miguel plays a mountain, and taps 3 for a Farhaven Elf. Kevin gains 1 life as Miguel goes to find a tap basic for the field, and then he taps the Archdruid for 3, and uses it to cast a Thrashing Brontodon. With the dinosaur coming in, Kevin gains another life, and Miguel passes turn. Max plays a Sacred Foundry for turn, taking 2 so it comes in untapped. He then taps all of his mana for Gavi, and once she's out, cycles for free a Dismantling Wave. This has the wave destroying all artifacts and enchantments on the board, and Max then draws a card from the cycling, and gets to make a cat token because it's the second card he's drawn for turn, which as it enters, gains Kevin 1 life. On Maximus's upkeep, Max gets to draw a card from the Afara trigger, and Maximus then plays a mountain. He casts a Rock Slide Sorcerer, gaining 1 red from Birgi, and Kevin gains 1 life. He then passes the turn, and at the end step, Max cycles a Secluded Step, making a cat token from Gavi, seeing him draw a second card for turn. He also gets another delayed trigger from Afara, and Kevin gains 1 from the Warden, seeing the cat enter. Max draws on Kevin's upkeep, and Kevin plays a Plains. 3 mana has him resolving a Collective Effort, getting only 1 mode from it, which is to pump his board by putting a +1/+1 counter onto all of his creatures. He goes to combat with Adeline heading to Miguel, 4 tokens going at Max, and the Cleric at Maximus. He gets to make 3 more tokens who come in tapped and attacking, giving him 3 more life. The table then blocks the new tokens, and Miguel puts the Brontodon in front of Adeline. Max then takes 6 from the tokens, and Maximus takes 3. Kevin then passes, and at the end of turn, Max cycles another card to draw, and makes a cat token from Gavi, and Kevin gains a life. On Miguel's upkeep, Max draws again from the Afara trigger, and Miguel activates his commander's ability. He reveals until he hits a Titanith Rex, getting to cast it without paying the cost. The 11/11 comes in, Kevin gains a life, and Miguel then moves to draw for turn. He plays a mountain as his land drop, and passes. At the end of turn, Max keeps the cycle train going, cycling Neutralize to make another cat token, gain Kevin 1 life, and get another delayed Afara trigger on his upkeep. Max draws on his upkeep, and then for turn. He makes a cat token from Gavi, and plays a Glacial Fortress. 2 mana gets him an Arcane Signet, and he moves to combat. He swings what cats he can at Kevin, who blocks 1 with Adeline, and Kevin takes 6. Max then passes, discarding down to 7. Max draws on Maximus' upkeep, and Maximus draws for turn. He floats 1 red to cast Warlord's Fury, gaining 1 red from Birgi, and drawing a card. He deals 1 to Kevin with the Sorcerer trigger, and then plays a land for turn. 2 mana then gets him a Smoldering Egg, and he gets another mana from Birgi, and gives Kevin another life. He then taps the rest of his mana for Zada, and Kevin gains another life from this, while Max decides to cycle a card at the end of turn, and makes another cat token, and does his whole thing. Max draws on Kevin's upkeep, and I feel like I'm a broken record at this point. Kevin then plays out a Plains for his land drop, and taps 1 white for Hazad Marshal, gaining 1 as it enters. Moving to combat, he swings the Cleric at Miguel, and Adeline at Max. Max cycles a Vizier of Tumbling Sands, getting a cat token from Gavi, seeing him draw a second card, and Kevin gains 1 as it enters. Kevin also makes some tokens from Adeline attacking, and gains 3 life. We then move to blocks, with Max putting enough cat tokens to take out Kevin's commander. Miguel also blocks what he can, but still takes the hit for 3 from the Cleric in the air. Kevin then moves to a second main phase, and passes to Miguel. Max draws on Miguel's upkeep, and Miguel draws for turn. He then pays 1 green for a Quirion Ranger, and taps the Archdruid for mana, and then uses the Ranger, and taps a land, and then returns the land to hand to untap the Druid, and taps it again. This isn't enough after he taps a red from a mountain to activate his commander once more. He hits a Hunter's Insight, casting it on his massive Titanith Rex. Miguel then plays out an Arnie Broken Bow in his main phase, and goes to combat. He swings the Rex and Arnie at Kevin, and pays for Arnie's Boast ability. Kevin blocks with the Marshal, but takes the 11 from the Rex after making a deal with Miguel to not get attacked next turn. Miguel happily draws 11 from the Rex, and in response, Max decides to get on this too by cycling a card to draw a card, making another cat token, giving Kevin another life, and getting another delayed Afara trigger. Miguel then casts a Soul Ring, but sadly has no Reliquary Tower or Thought Vessel, so he has to discard down to 7. He decides to use Chaos Warp now though, and casts it on Gavi. Max responds with a Fierce Guardianship for free because his commander's out, saving Gavi. Miguel then passes and discards down to 7. Max draws on his own upkeep from Afara's delayed trigger, and for turn. This makes him another cat token, gains Kevin 1 life, and gives him another delayed trigger from Afara. Max then plays a Training Center, and taps enough for an Improbable Alliance, and then a Mind Stone. He discusses with the table if he should attack, while Maximus tries to massage a good card out of his deck. Ultimately, Max decides to just pass. Maximus draws, and plays a land, and passes. Kevin draws, and recasts Adeline in his main phase, gaining 1 life from the Soul's Warden. He upholds his end of the deal by swinging only the Remorseful Cleric at Maximus and nothing at Miguel. Miguel draws and uses the Quirion Ranger and the Archdruid combo he did the turn before to help cast a Zerta Ancient in his main phase. He effectively doubles his mana from lands, and this allows him to easily activate his commander and reveals until he hits a Reclamation Sage, casting it, and it comes in, blowing up Improbable Alliance. Miguel then casts a Raging Swordtooth, which deals 1 to each creature on the board, and whether it's from a Lord or a +1/+1 counter, nothing's small enough to die to this. Miguel then goes to combat, swinging Arnie and the Rex at max, activating Arnie's ability, and finally remember to returning a Force to hand from the Quirion Ranger activation. Max is ready for this though, tapping only 2 lands to make 4 mana needed for Resettle the Wreckage. This exiles Miguel's creatures, and he goes to find 2 lands, putting them to the field tapped, and passes. Max only draws for turn, with no Afara trigger sadly, and he plays an island. He then taps 2 to cast the old Sakashima the Imposter, and has them come in as a copy of Gavi. Max then pays to activate his Mind Stone, sacrificing it and drawing a card. It's his second draw for the turn though, which makes him a cat token both from the Gavi trigger and the Sakashima's version trigger. Max then plays an Izzet Signet, and follows up the Hoofprints of the Stag, and passes turn. Maximus continues to fondle his deck in public like some kind of pervert, and Max draws on his upkeep from the Afara trigger from seeing a cat come in. Maximus then taps 2 lands for 4 mana, using 3 of it for Seize the Spoils, making a red mana from Birgi, discarding a card to draw 2, and gets to make a treasure token as well. He deals 1 to Kevin from the Sorcerer trigger, and then taps enough to put stack the newly unbanned Worldfire. The spell resolves, with everyone basically exiling their hands, fields, and graveyards, and dropping to 1 life. With nothing else, Maximus passes. Kevin draws, passing turn. Miguel draws and plays a forest. Max draws, plays a tap Steam Vents, not like he has much choice, and passes to Maximus. Maximus draws and plays a mountain. Kevin draws and passes. Miguel draws, passing as well. Max draws and passes. Maximus draws and passes. Kevin draws and plays a Plains, and then casts a Soul's Attendant, passing turn with lethal to anyone on board now. Miguel draws, passing turn. Max draws and passes. Maximus draws and passes. Kevin untaps and draws. He plays a Plains and swings the Attendant to take out Maximus. Miguel draws and plays a Forest. Max draws and passes to Kevin. Kevin draws and casts a Champion of the Parish. He then gains 1 as it enters, doubling his life total, and swings the Attendant at Miguel to take him out. Max draws and passes. Kevin draws and plays a Plains, and then swings for the win. Game review time. Kevin's Adeline deck was super sweet to see in action, and I love how powerful and how much life he gained. I was a bit disappointed to see him losing that Strixhaven Stadium, because I wish that he would have killed someone with it, but hopefully we'll be able to see another game where he actually gets to do something. I think it's safe to say that Miguel loves Gruul, because this is like his 3rd Gruul deck in as many months. He had wanted to play a dinosaur-based deck, but wasn't super interested in Zakama or Gashath, so he decided to make Svella so that he could dig deep into his library and hopefully cast some of the bigger dinosaurs for less mana. Unfortunately for Maximus, his Spellslinger deck really didn't do a whole heck of a lot, and I think he might have missed a bit of an earlier line that could have drawn him some action or cards at least by casting Zada first and then the Warlord's Fury afterwards. Max continues his trend of building decks that I've already built, but doing it better and playing them better, since first he had Grevin, and now he's got Gavi. It was incredible to see how many cat tokens he got, and how consistent his draw engine was just something to behold. I'm not entirely sure what his win con was, but if it was anything like mine, it involved Decree of Silence, Solemnity, and some really upset opponents. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, Cool Stuff Inc., Multizone, Original Magic Art, and Alter Sleeves. But it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. so I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.